Millions of Zimbabweans living and working in South Africa are struggling to send money home to their families. Inflation in Zimbabwe has again skyrocketed after fuel prices were pushed to record highs. Sumitra Naidu has more.
90% of all money transfers from South Africa go to Lesotho, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Millions of Zimbabweans live in South Africa primarily for work. Sending money home is often the only means of survival for their families. But most of the money is spent on the exchange rate and the high cost of bank transfers and other transactions.
A person who has, for example, 2,000 rands, who can survive on 2,000 rands, here in South Africa, say they rent maybe a single room at about 1,000 or 700 and buy food. That 2,000 rand cannot be sent in Zimbabwe and be sufficient because of the exchange rate. Because at the end of the day, when they send that money to Zim, you realize that it only translates to about maybe $100 or 150, and it's virtually nothing.
Cross-border transport is already expensive, with Zimbabweans buying a lot more food items to send back home. It's a higher cost that many can't afford.
Rather than sending money to Zimbabwe, which becomes useless because they cannot buy anything, they are forced to buy goods here in South Africa and send them, as bulk goods. Even if it's groceries, it could be, clothing, it could be anything. Now, sending goods becomes much more expensive because now they have to use the services of, transporters, and transporters charge an arm and a leg.
Zimbabwe is experiencing its highest inflation rate since rates soared upwards of 79 billion% in mid-November 2008. Despite political change, the economy is struggling to recover. Unemployment, too, is at a record high.
The holding of the election in 2013, which marked the end of the transition, gave us a little bit of assurance. And then this last election, which took place late last year, in 2018, was meant to consolidate things further, similar to what has happened to the DRC. So the challenges that Zimbabwe faced has to do with the fact that we can change human beings, we can change leaders, they can change the language, as President Mnangagwa has done. The ruling party tries to refashion itself. But the structural factors that have caused problems in Zimbabwe do not die immediately. And they'll keep rising. The option that they took, which was a change from within, has one major folly, is that the very forces that were behind the problem over a period of time must now be behind solutions.
Zimbabweans living in South Africa cheered in 2018 when Robert Mugabe was forced out of office. But there was no mass move back to the country. Instead, more Zimbabweans are heading to South Africa. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.